Hello, everyone. My name is Marta, and today I'd like to share with you my ideas on how to include the SDGs in teaching during my presentation on Rethinking SDG 14, Critical Social Ecological Dimensions of a University-Level Baltic Sea Ocean Literacy course. The importance of the SDGs in general and SDG 14 in particular cannot be overestimated. Although there are various steps taken in the Baltic Sea region to implement ocean-related SDGs, the Baltic Sea states demonstrate relatively poor performance on SDG 14. So I have decided to design a university-level Baltic Sea Ocean Literacy course to enable my students to read critically texts on the implementation of SDG 14 in the Baltic Sea region, to recognize crucial links among SDG 14 and the remaining SDGs, and to envision alternative ways of problem framing. To do so, the students will be working with a set of simple questions: what is, why, what if, and how. Hopefully, my students will be able to critically approach the implementation of SDG 14 in the Baltic Sea region and to reimagine the process along social ecological lines. We will start with an article written by Professor Carl Folke and other experts, Our Future in the Anthropocene Biosphere, just to make sure we're on the same page when it comes to the concept of biosphere-based sustainability and its conceptual and material implications. So this part of the course will cover such issues as human actions in the Anthropocene, challenging the biosphere foundation for a prosperous development of civilizations, people and nature as dynamically intertwined with all their actions embedded in the biosphere across temporal and spatial scales, solutions to ensure sustainability as well as resilience in the face of the climate crisis, recommendations, that is the need for a transformative change toward sustainable futures, for example, emerging technologies, social innovations, broader shifts in cultural repertoires, and active stewardship of human actions in support of a resilient biosphere. For the purpose of this course, I have selected the drainage basin definition of the Baltic Sea region because it puts the Baltic Sea at the very center of the region by including all countries through which water flows into the Baltic Sea. So now it's time to change our perspective from a global one to a more regional one and to zoom in on the Baltic Sea region. In this part of the course, my students will work with texts addressing challenges and risks related to SDG 14 in the Baltic Sea region, such as State of the Baltic Sea, Second HELCOM Holistic Assessment, WW Report 2020, Improving International Ocean Governance for Life Below Water. They will also watch a documentary movie directed by Volkeri Dam, The Baltic Sea Threats and Hope, representing the topics of fishing, eutrophication, and toxins in the Baltic Sea, and attempting to answer the question whether it's too late to save the sea or if there's still hope. In this part of the course, my students will explore possible causes of the deteriorating condition of the Baltic Sea on the basis of their knowledge and experience. Then I will offer my suggestions for them to reflect upon, for example, a crisis of perception, the stories we live by, shallow environmentalism, or the word environment seen as external to society and economy as opposed to the biosphere regarded as a precondition for social justice, economic development, and sustainability. Here, the students will have a chance to critically reflect upon the SDGs and their interdependencies by reading two scientific papers. The first one makes the interconnections between biodiversity, ecosystem services, and sustainable development explicit. The second one investigates interrelationships among targets of SDG 14, as well as interrelationships between those targets and other SDGs and their implications for making progress on SDG 14. My students will also become familiar with a social ecological approach to reimagine sustainable development in terms of biosphere-based sustainability. To facilitate the process, I'll show them the so-called wedding cake animation made by Stockholm Resilience Center. It offers a different view on the SDGs. Let's watch it. Hopefully, this animation will make my students notice that environment is not something outside the economy or society, but it's the very foundation civilizations exist within and rely upon. So it will become clear that the sustainable development triad with its social, economic, and environmental components perceived as separate but somehow interconnected simply fails to adequately capture human embeddedness in the biosphere. To offer a different take on the issue of sustainable development, my students will be presented with a relatively simple chart designed by Professor Carl Folke from Stockholm Resilience Center, and showing that people are integral to the biosphere and all their social, cultural, and economic activities are embedded in it. Here, my students will attempt to answer 2 questions on the basis of the documentary, the article, the text, and of course, their insights and experience. So how can we navigate a complex dilemma? How can we facilitate the implementation of SDG 14 in the Baltic Sea region? There are no silver bullet solutions since we are talking about extremely complex challenges. However, it's crucial to question any unsustainable assumptions or patterns that may impact our perception, framings, or practices, and to look for solutions that protect and preserve life-supporting conditions in the Baltic Sea region with the Baltic Sea at its heart. It needs to be underscored that the aim of this course is not to give answers or to offer ready-made solutions, but to show my students directions along which to look. What's more, it's also a wonderful opportunity for them to master such skills as critical thinking, making informed choices as critical and conscious consumers, professionals, decision makers, employees, students, and voters, examining facts critically and participating in discussions, envisioning alternative ways of development and living, evaluating and understanding the consequences of alternative visions, and learning how to negotiate and justify choices between visions and making plans for achieving these. As awareness alone is not enough, my students will not only gain an understanding of the Baltic Sea's influence on us and our influence on the marine ecosystem, but will also communicate about these interdependencies in a meaningful way. In this way, they will be in a position to make informed and responsible decisions regarding its governance. Additionally, reconnecting our socioeconomic development in the Baltic Sea region to the biosphere will help them rethink SDG 14 along social ecological lines to facilitate its implementation in the Baltic Sea region. Thank you.